You had a recent dispute, if that's the right word, with Tom Homan, the president's Homeland Security czar, so-called. You held an online forum, a Know Your Rights forum, that he didn't like. What were you doing? What was your goal as you saw it?
My job is to educate and act as a liaison of critical information to my constituents. And I was informing all of my constituents of their constitutional protections, and in particular, their constitutional protections against illegal search and seizure in the United States.
Holman was upset, I suppose, because he felt that you were giving advice to people who were here illegally. Were you?
I was giving advice to all of my constituents. Yeah.
He said he was going to report you, or even that he did reach out to the Department of Justice. Have you heard from the Department of Justice?
I have not, and I intend on reaching out to the Department of Justice to inquire.
Really? What would your question be for the Department of Justice?
Well, there is a member of the Trump administration who is threatening and seeks to open an inquiry, and are you going to do it?
What would you learn? What do you hope to learn from that exchange?
I think it's important to know where this administration stands and if they intend on using political intimidation to silence their critics.
Ooh, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Even though I broke the law. AOC, your constituents are legal citizens, okay? You wouldn't have to give them any advice on not being deported. So the lie detector determined that was a lie. AOC just seems to keep finding herself in some hot water. And part of me thinks this might be a little intentional, but we shall see. Tom Homan ain't playing no games, though.
Vaguely aware of immigration law. I've done this since 1984. I forgot more about the immigration law than AOC will ever know. Matter of fact, the hearing a couple of years ago, I had explained to her that entering the country illegally was actually a crime. So, I'm not going to play that game with her. I simply made a statement. When you sit down with people who are wanted by us, criminal aliens that have been ordered to be deported from the United States government, and ignore that order, if you and I ignored that order, we'd be sitting in prison. But they ignored an order from a federal judge. They're hiding in a home, and she's telling them not to open the door.
Hey, Tom Homan, get her. But it turns out it's not only that from AOC. There is a shocking report that recently came out from the New York Post. It seems like AOC hired an illegal who recently self-deported back to Colombia. Some people started asking some questions, and he got up out of here. An illegal immigrant who once worked for Representative AOC's campaign has moved to Colombia in frustration over the pace of progressive immigration reform in the United States. It's bittersweet. I hadn't left the country in 23 years, from age 7 to age 30. Diego de la Vega told Migrant Insider. Now I can't go back to the U.S. It feels like exile. It's a very permanent move, but my wife and I are confident we made the right decision. And after some time, it's been a real pleasure to be here. De La Vega came to the U.S. when he was 7. When he was a 7-year-old, but ended up illegally overstaying his visitor's visa. Protections are going away, regardless of who is in the White House. The strategy hasn't adapted to the modern era. He added, Biden had a trifecta, the House, the Senate, and the White House, but dropped the ball. I mean, isn't that what Democrats always do? They drop the ball. They drop the ball for their constituents. So I don't know why Democrats continue to vote for the Democrat Party, because when the Democrat, this is the thing that I've noticed, and I'm shocked that Democrat voters haven't caught on to this. This is what the Democrat Party does. When they're in power, when they're trying to get in power, they make a bunch of promises. A bunch of fluffy, feel-good type of deals, right? We'll give you this, we'll give you that, and this and that, and it's going to be great, and sunshine and rainbows, and unicorns, and everything else that's, nice. Sugar, spice, and everything nice. And then they win. And they sit on their hands. and they do absolutely nothing. And then when the Democrat constituents complain, they give them, the Democrat Party gives them just one little nugget. Like, here, there you go. Take that. And the Democrat Party, the Democrat politicians, they celebrate it like, ooh, we got this done, blah, blah, blah. And they make it this whole big ordeal. And then they sit back on their hands again. And then they wait until Republicans take over one of the chambers, right? The House, the Senate, or the presidency. And then they try to push forth, one of their pieces of legislation that they were supposed to pass and should have passed when they had the trifecta that they promised to their constituents. They'll wait until Republicans are in office or have, the House or the Senate or the presidency. Then they'll bring it up. And then when Republicans vote no, they'll say, see, look, it's the Republicans' fault. They didn't want you to have, free healthcare. It's the Republicans. And they'll make that this whole big ordeal to try to demonize Republicans, and they'll just rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. So, reading that, what this guy just said there, I'm not surprised. This is what the Democrat Party does. They've done this time and time again. But let me know if you guys have noticed the same thing, because I obviously haven't been paying attention to politics, for crazy long. This is probably year 3 or 4 now. But I've noticed it in just that little short period of time. Like, bro, these people are, there's some schemers. There's some scammers. Democrat Party is running a big scam on the American people, which I guess is a good thing for us because they never pass their full agenda. But anyway, let's keep reading here. De La Vega first became politically active in 2010. Goodness gracious. In 2010, after the DREAM Act, which would have offered a path to legal status for illegal immigrants brought to the U.S. as children, failed to pass the Senate by 5 votes. Good. Despite his illegal status, Diego de la Vega had no trouble rising the ranks of Empire State Democratic politics from 2019 to 2021. He worked as a special assistant to former Harlem Assembly member Robert J. Rodriguez, who also interned for U.S. Rep. Caroline Maloney. He signed up with AOC in 2022, holding various positions before rising to Deputy Communications Director, a post he held until December, according to his LinkedIn. Diego is amazing, AOC told Migrant Insider. We love him. Reps for AOC did not respond to requests for comment from the post. Yeah, so she hired this guy, which is illegal. You're not allowed to do that. So where are the charges? We need answers. Okay. We need some major answers. And I believe she was paying this guy about $80,000 a year, which is good money. Good money.
So out of curiosity, I wanted to see what the fine was for hiring an undocumented, unauthorized worker. So the maximum fine per worker is $3,000. AOC ain't gonna mind paying $3,000. Trust on that. She done pilfered enough money from the federal government, and with this whole Ukraine money laundering scheme, potential criminal penalty is an imprisonment up to 6 months for repeated violations. So we need to know, how many people, illegals, does she have working on her campaign, working for her? And the relevant law, for those of you who are going to question all this, and you libtardians from the Communist Party who are going to come over here and try to community note this bullshit, the relevant law is the Immigration Reform and Control Act. Deal with it.
Yeah, so she faces up to 6 months, at least if he was the only one. And at this point, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about. Y'all let me know. Do you think AOC should go to jail for that 6 months? Or do you think she should have no jail time? Talk to me. And I guess when I know the knee-jerk reaction will be, yes, she needs to go to jail. She broke the law. But the optics matter. The optics matter. Especially when you're focused on winning, okay? Obviously, we know the Democrat Party tries to, over-exaggerate everything. They'll say, see, We told you Trump and his administration were going to be dictators, blah, blah, blah. Mainstream media is going to parrot that same point. Now, is that going to be convincing? You tell me. One could also argue that this past election proved that mainstream media doesn't have the power that it once had, because it spent the past, year bashing Trump at every twist and turn in the 3 months leading up to the election, really going after him. I think the report came out, it was like 98% negative coverage for Trump. So one could also argue, nah, it's not going to matter what they say. And we proved that in this past election. They can say that Trump's a dictator. People are going to see right through the smokescreen. What do you think, guys? What do you think? What do you think? Do you think the optics are going to matter? Or do you think they're not going to matter and we should just throw her in jail? What do you say? Talk to me. Thanks for tuning in as always. Peace and love. I'm out.